Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Kesteven series. This is a large Lincolnshire district centred around the town of Sleaford. There's 75 parishes here, so let's take a look at one of them. Welcome back to North Kesteven again, people. Now, we're all familiar these days with the concept of an estate village and the big grandiose buildings that go with it. Well, this is an estate village and the buildings in this place will absolutely knock your socks off. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. Welcome to the parish of Doddington and Whisby. The North Kesteven series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Doddington and Whisby, Dodda's town and Hvit settlement. Welcome again to North Kesteven, and this week we're in a parish that again contains two settlements. This is Doddington and Whisby, which were once two separate parishes but were merged together to form what we have today. One is a small estate village and the other is a tiny hamlet that's well known for its garden centre. At the centre of Doddington is a massive hall, an Elizabethan mansion regarded as one of the finest stately homes in the country. Originally built for Thomas Tailor, who was a lawyer and recorder to the Bishop of Lincoln, it's now all owned by the Jarvis family. Anthony Jarvis is responsible for at least three features on the Donington Hall estate, namely a temple that was built in 1973, a pyramid created from an old grain store, and a fine collection of farm wagons. Although in private hands, the estate is open to the public, and every year thousands of people come to Doddington to see its world-famous Tapestries, shop in its expansive courtyard, and enjoy the scenic walks around the parkland. It has a huge bike shop and a great restaurant too. Doddington is a village that's rich in history, and it's all so easily accessible. It kind of makes you feel a bit sorry for Whisby, but in this episode we'll do our best to put both villages on the map. Let's get the boots on and let's go. Our walk around Doddington starts at the church dedicated to St Peter. This has very little in the way of recorded history. A Grade 2 listed building, it has medieval origins, having been built sometime before 1300. It was almost entirely rebuilt in 1771, but it still retains its early English font. The rebuilding was overseen by Lord de Laval of Doddington Hall, where the family lived. John de Laval, better known as Jack, was the last male heir of the de Laval family. He died aged 19 and was buried in this very church. Reputedly, the church interior was painted black for his funeral. Exiting the church via the lit gate, you're then faced with a car park. This is for Donington Hall, one of the biggest tourist attractions to the west of Lincoln. The hall is, from the outside, an Elizabethan prodigy house or mansion, complete with walled courtyards and a gabled gatehouse. It was built between 1593 and 1600 by Robert Smithson for Thomas Tailor, who was a lawyer and the recorder to the Bishop of Lincoln. The inside was largely updated in the 1760s. Although still privately owned, the hall and its gardens are open to the public with facilities for private tours and school visits. Now we will be seeing some more of the hall later on. We're going to go back to the road and continue down it towards the rest of the village first, because you are actually allowed to walk through the estate on some public rights of way, and eventually we will come past the hall again along this road back to the start. And I think, to be honest with you, that's going to show Doddington Hall in all its finery. So let's explore the village first, and then we'll see this on the way back. Doddington Hall isn't the only attraction in the village. Here's another, a farm shop, one of several businesses that have developed around the hall's courtyard. The shop opened in 2007. Inside there's a range of fruit and vegetables which have 0 food miles because they're all freshly picked from the hall's kitchen garden. There are several other shops you can have a look at here too. This sign points us in the direction of them, and we'll explore those shortly. In charge of it all is the estate office just a few steps further up the road. So far, there's not been a lot in the way of housing, has there? Over the road is a residential street, but there was once a public elementary school here. It was built in 1851 and its attendance was never very large. Mind you, given the size of the village, that's not surprising. The school has now been replaced by new builds, but they still carry the name Teacher's House in reference to the old school. The other side of the road is also residential, but it's a little hard to know what's a house and what belongs to the hall's courtyard. There's no doubt about our next feature though, the parish notice board, although I struggled to get a TVI card to stay on this one, it just kept falling off. Continuing, we then pass the old school house, which has now been turned into a pair of residences. Children who live in the village these days have to travel to Eagle, Skellingthorpe or Harby to get to school. The road remains residential for the rest of civilization, although dotted between some of the houses are public rights of way that lead onto the Doddington Hall estate. It should be noted this road isn't quiet, by the way. It's the B1190 which connects the village to the A46. Here's a phone box. This one bills itself as an information point, but quite honestly, it's anything but. Well, even though it terms itself an information point, this phone box, there's not really any information in it. It's basically just a book exchange. As you can see, there's plenty of books in there. But you know what? You're never actually short of information in this place if you look online, because the website for Doddington Hall is very, very informative, and it tells you, the history of the hall and what's in the estate these days. And yeah, if you come for a day out here, if you just look on that before you come, then you are guaranteed to find everything you want, basically. And now I'm going to show you some of the things that can be found on the Doddington estate. I'm just going to reposition my camera here because this ground is not level. That's a bit better. There we go. So what we're going to do is turn around at this point and head back along the road the way we've just come, and take a public bridleway which will take us through into the estate and past some of its features. And we're in search of something here that you don't generally tend to find in a parkland, and that's a pyramid. It's an interesting structure. Let's go and find it. Now in the courtyard, our first job is to check out the bike shop. The innovative state-of-the-art building covers 8,300 square feet over 2 floors. It's even got its very own off-road test track. The shop works in partnership with Giant, the largest manufacturer of bicycles in the world. The courtyard can feel like a maze if you've never been here before. Initially I thought I was supposed to turn right here to get to the grain store, but that's actually next door to the bike shop. The grain store is a cafe, restaurant and bar which showcases all the estate-grown produce found in the farm shop. After that, the courtyard opens up a little bit and you start to see the hall's parkland in the distance. That's where we're going, but not before we've had a look at the Stable Yard Gallery. This often has exhibitions from the well-respected Lincolnshire Artists Society, including paintings and sculptural art, with many for sale. Now we're entering the parkland and it's perfectly legal to wander around this. In fact, it's actively encouraged by the Doddington estate. This lake is a popular attraction. You'll often find bird watchers here looking for mallards and moorhens, both of which frequent these waters. Several public rights of way cross the parkland. One of them forms the Avenue Walk and will take us towards the pyramid. Now, this isn't as old as its name or structural appearance might suggest. It's a modern-day folly, built as it was in 2014. It's 10 metres tall and was made using recycled concrete from an old grain store on the estate. It was designed by Anthony Jarvis, who passed Doddington Hall to his daughter and her husband in 2006. It was positioned here purposely so that it could be seen from the rear of the hall. It's a former winner of the Hudson's Heritage Best Innovation Award. Now, be aware, the Doddington Hall pyramid is not something that you can easily walk to, I'll be honest with you, because, you know, walking on the grass track is hard enough as it is, especially when it's been raining. But this is a long way into this parkland. If I show you where this is in relation to Doddington Hall, that has got to be a good half a mile between here and the hall. But that's the route I'm about to take from the pyramid and back to the grounds of the hall up there, and we'll talk a bit more about the hall when we eventually reach it. Got to get there first. As well as the small lake we saw earlier, there's other ponds in this parkland too. They were former clay pits from which the bricks that built Doddington Hall were made. Here's the hall again, this time from the other direction. One thing you can't see from the outside are the Doddington Tapestries. In 1762, Sir John Hussey de Laval covered every inch of one of the rooms with tapestries showing country scenes. They were made in Flanders in the early 17th century. You can see them yourself, but you can't get in this way. It's no entry from this point, so it's back to the courtyard we go. For the way back, I purposely saved this shed, built on the site of a former sawmill. This is full of farm wagons which were collected by Anthony Jarvis himself. His collection began in the 1960s. Aside from the UK, very few other countries developed four-wheeled wagons, and none produced such an extraordinary regional diversity, making this collection even more special. These magnificent English farm wagons were a universal feature of the countryside, and a visit to the wagon shed offers a fabulous introduction to a little-known aspect of our country's farming heritage. There's a couple more businesses left in the courtyard. Here's Doddington at Home, which sells soft furnishings, lighting, tableware and candle collections. A short walk from that is the Farm Shop Cafe. This is smaller than the grain store but still offers quality food, including their locally famous fish and chips. They also serve burgers that are produced from the estate's own herd of Lincoln Red cattle. You can buy that in the farm shop, along with the estate's own brand of honey and foraged wild garlic. I cut through the farm shop to return to the front of the hall, looking strikingly beautiful in the glorious sunshine. And there we are all the way around the village and the estate of Doddington. And isn't Doddington Hall just one of the most magnificent buildings you have ever seen? I'll be honest with you, it is one of the jewels in the crown as far as North Kesteven is concerned. And I know a lot of people come here on the regular, and you can see why, can't you? Now, we're not quite done with this episode yet. We're going to walk back to the car, and we now need to cover Whisby, which is a little tiny settlement just to the south and east of Doddington. And that's famed for a garden centre. Let's go and check that out. Directly south of Doddington is a long road that runs into Whisby. If you drive it yourself, you'll pass through Whisby Crossroads. This is notable for all the wrong reasons. It's an accident black spot. I myself have had a few near misses at it. In 2011, the A46, which is accessed from the crossroads, underwent some reconstruction. This included the building of a roundabout on the road, which leads into the village. Whisby itself is not much more than a hamlet, less than 2 miles from the A46. It was formerly a township in the parish of Doddington, but later became a separate civil parish. In 1931, that was abolished and merged with Doddington to form Doddington and Whisby. It's never had a massive population. The name Whisby means farm or settlement of Hvit. South of the village is Whisby Moor, which includes a nature park forged from the gravel and sand pits that line the western edge of the city of Lincoln. We've seen part of that before in Thorpe on the Hill, and it's managed by the Lincolnshire Wildlife Trust. Whisby has 2 landmarks of note. One of them is the TFM Country Store in the village itself. This provides feed and supplies for horses, dogs, cats, chickens and birds. They also sell children's toys designed with the countryside in mind. Their craft pony range aims to teach children how to tack up and plait a pony. Innovative. And that leaves us with Whisby Garden Centre off the road to the A46. This is a family-run business that's been trading for over 30 years. It's based around 5 lakes that are all beautifully planted up, creating a wonderful place to shop, eat and take a walk around to feed the wildlife. And let's not forget their animal park and play barn, which has an indoor soft play area and a cafe. In short, Doddington and Whisby has something for everyone. Come yourself and have a little look around. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.